Have you ever wondered why reincarnation, a concept deeply rooted in various spiritual traditions, was erased from Christian doctrines? Yes, we're talking about something that could completely change how we understand the Bible and our own existence. But what happened? Over centuries, the idea that we live multiple lives was buried through controversial historical decisions, and perhaps you've never heard the full truth about it. What lies behind this exclusion? Why did the Church decide to suppress this belief, and which biblical passages suggest it might have been present in early Christianity? Get ready to delve into one of the most intriguing and least told stories of Christian spirituality. We'll talk about power, politics, and a concept that transcends cultures, from India's sacred texts to the great Greek philosophers. You'll discover how the Council of Constantinople, led by Emperor Justinian and Empress Theodora, changed the course of Christianity by severing ties with the idea that we have multiple chances to grow and purify ourselves. Could the Bible still hold traces of this forgotten doctrine? Stay with me, because throughout this video, you'll see how this resonates even today, from modern spiritual practices to scientific research on past lives. Perhaps you'll discover that reincarnation is much more than a lost concept. It might be a key piece in understanding your own journey. Let's begin. Reincarnation, often overlooked or rejected by traditional Christianity, finds subtle traces in biblical passages and ancient spiritual practices. The idea that the soul lives multiple lives has always intrigued seekers, especially when confronted with concepts like redemption and purification. In a world where doctrines intertwine with history and culture, questioning whether the Bible once embraced this perspective can be the start of a fascinating journey. Have you ever wondered how souls could perfect themselves over time instead of being confined to a single existence? It's almost like imagining life as a grand lesson, with each life being a page in a book still being written. But why does this matter? Ancient texts, like those from Greece and India, present the evolution of the soul as a central thread connecting karma and samsara. This same vision seems to echo in more spiritual interpretations of the Bible. Early Christian figures like Origen suggested that souls might reincarnate to purify and learn. This makes us reflect on how ancient spirituality, mixed with the Judaic-Christian context, could have left room for such concepts. It might seem counterintuitive, but what if reincarnation is a missing piece of the spiritual puzzle? The Bible, in its depth, presents metaphors and passages that spark debate. For instance, the book of Matthew suggests that the spirit of Elijah lives on in John the Baptist. How does this align with the idea of reincarnation? While it's not definitive proof, it shows that the concept of past lives might have been subtly addressed. Looking at the evolution of doctrines over time, we see how the narrative was shaped, leaving questions in its wake. Questions that lead us directly to the global influences connecting Egypt, India, and Greece. How did these cultures shape the spirituality that reached us? The idea of reincarnation isn't exclusive to any one culture. It transcends borders and time, forming an essential element in the spiritual beliefs of civilizations like Egypt, India, and Greece. In ancient Egypt, the soul, known as the Ka, was seen as eternal, embarking on spiritual journeys to achieve purification. Meanwhile, in India, the Vedas, sacred texts foundational to Hinduism, describe the samsara cycle, where the soul is reborn repeatedly until it attains liberation from karma. In Greece, philosophers like Plato explored past lives as a means of learning and evolving. Could these diverse perspectives have common threads with early Christianity? These cultures, despite being geographically separate, shared a profound understanding of the soul's evolution. In India, for example, actions in this life were believed to directly influence future lives, a concept resonant with what many today call the law of return. Similarly, The Orphic mysteries of Greece taught that the soul must purify itself of its flaws through multiple existences. Egypt's Book of the Dead detailed practices for guiding the soul on its journey after death. These traditions show how reincarnation was seen as a divine opportunity for spiritual growth, creating a bridge with the ideas of redemption and purification found in Christianity. Even more fascinating is how these beliefs shape the global vision of spirituality. Ideas as ancient as the Vedas continue to echo in modern practices like meditation and self-awareness. This raises the question, could early Christians have been influenced by these global thoughts? Looking at theologians like Origen and his belief in reincarnation, we find a surprising alignment between these cultures, and here we begin to see the critical role of early Christian figures who sought to merge these ideas with the context of their faith. What impact did this have on the formation of Christian doctrine? The early centuries of Christianity were marked by profound debates about the soul's nature and eternal purpose. Among the great thinkers of the time, Origen of Alexandria stood out as a notable proponent of reincarnation. He believed that the soul, in its quest for redemption, could be reborn to purify and spiritually evolve. For Origen, this cycle of lives allowed each soul to confront its flaws and eventually achieve union with God. This vision, while fascinating, contrasted with emerging doctrines that emphasized a singular and definitive judgment. Origen wasn't alone in his views. His interpretation was rooted in texts like the Gospel of John and Pauline letters, which mention continuous redemption and spiritual transformation. He saw reincarnation as a natural extension of divine love, a system where God offers multiple chances for the soul to learn, purify, and evolve. However, this concept sparked controversies within the Church, particularly because it questioned the necessity of exclusive salvation within a single lifetime. Imagine Origen's boldness in proposing that life was more of a school than a courtroom. These ideas, revolutionary as they were, faced strong resistance. Many Christian leaders feared that accepting reincarnation would weaken the Church's power to shape beliefs and behavior. After all, if people believed they had multiple lifetimes to correct their mistakes, where was the urgency for repentance and obedience? This theological tension leads us directly to the monumental decision of the Council of Constantinople, where reincarnation was officially banned from Christian doctrine. But what drove Emperor Justinian and Empress Theodora to make this decision? The Council of Constantinople in 553 AD marked a pivotal moment in Christian history. Under the command of Emperor Justinian and Empress Theodora, reincarnation was officially excluded from Christian doctrines. This decision was not only theological, but deeply political. Justinian sought to consolidate imperial power over the Church, and the idea of reincarnation, which emphasized individual spiritual evolution, threatened the centralized structure of control. Reincarnation suggested that salvation didn't depend solely on the Church, but on an internal and ongoing process of learning. Theodora played a crucial role in this suppression. Known for her intelligence and skill in manipulating ecclesiastical matters, she directly influenced conciliar decisions to align doctrines with imperial interests. The exclusion of reincarnation reinforced the concept of a single final judgment, further centralizing the Church's authority over soul's eternal destiny. This strategic move profoundly transformed Christian doctrine, erasing connections to earlier spiritual traditions that valued rebirth as part of the soul's journey. However, this event didn't completely erase the traces of reincarnation. Many biblical passages continued to be interpreted by scholars over the centuries, fueling debates about past lives and spiritual evolution. The exclusion of reincarnation from Christianity also allowed other spiritual traditions to preserve and strengthen this belief. It's fascinating to consider how certain biblical passages still raise questions. For instance, some seem to point to something beyond the singular life cycle, especially when we examine Jesus' words about Elijah and John the Baptist. Shall we delve deeper into these clues? Despite reincarnation's official suppression at the Council of Constantinople, some biblical passages continue to provoke debates about the possibility of past lives. One of the most cited examples is Matthew 17:10-13, where Jesus states that John the Baptist is the Elijah who was to come. This intriguing declaration suggests a connection between the two figures, as if Elijah's spirit had been reborn in John the Baptist. Could this be a clear reference to reincarnation? While many theologians interpret these words symbolically, they remain open to deeper spiritual analysis. Another compelling example is in John 9:1-2, where the disciples ask Jesus, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" This question reveals that the disciples considered the possibility of the man having sinned before birth, a concept aligning with past lives and karma. Jesus doesn't completely dismiss the notion, but redirects focus to the manifestation of divine works. These verses, when analyzed with an open perspective, suggest that the seeds of reincarnation might be present in the biblical narrative, even if obscured by centuries of doctrinal interpretation. These passages not only spark curiosity, but also encourage a deeper investigation into what was retained, modified, or omitted over time. When compared to teachings from other traditions, like the Indian Vedas or Greek texts, these biblical stories gain a new layer of meaning. Did the official exclusion of reincarnation entirely erase its essence? These clues lead us to reflect on how ideas like soul evolution resurface in the modern world, both in spirituality and psychological studies. Reincarnation, though banned from official Christian doctrine, never ceased to fascinate humanity. In the modern world, this belief has experienced a resurgence, especially through contemporary spiritual practices and psychological studies. Regression therapies, for instance, have gained popularity as a way to access past life memories, helping individuals understand traumas, behavioral patterns, and even karmic connections. This approach aligns with the idea of the soul's continuous evolution, harmonizing with both ancient teachings and current quests for self-knowledge. Additionally, reincarnation is increasingly present in spiritual movements that blend science and spirituality. Researchers like Ian Stevenson have investigated cases of children who recall detailed memories of previous lives, raising intriguing questions about the nature of consciousness and the soul's continuity. These modern accounts reinforce the belief that the soul, through karma and samsara, follows a cycle of learning and purification. It's as though spirituality is reinventing itself, offering new ways to explore the soul's journey with a more scientific and contemporary perspective. This resurgence not only connects the present to the traditions of Egypt, India, and Greece, but also reignites questions about what was lost or omitted in Western doctrines. Why does reincarnation still resonate so deeply with people, even after centuries of suppression? Perhaps it's because it offers hope and purpose for our lives. After all, who wouldn't want to believe in the chance to grow, evolve, and ultimately achieve true liberation? But what can we learn from all this to apply to our own spiritual journeys? Now that you know all this, the question remains, what will you do with this knowledge? If reincarnation truly is part of the soul's journey, how does it change the way you approach your daily challenges, relationships, and even your life's purpose? Perhaps it's time to view your experiences with new eyes, understanding that each moment is an opportunity for growth, learning, and maybe even spiritual purification. Take a moment to reflect. What patterns are you repeating that could have roots in past lives? What can you do here and now to free yourself from old bonds and start walking a path of true growth? Let these questions resonate, and if you wish to deepen your journey, share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think about all this. Finally, if you want to continue exploring fascinating topics like this, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any updates and can keep expanding your knowledge about spirituality, past lives, and much more. Your evolution starts here. Shall we move forward together?